After sitting down with Camron and Maze, Maxby declared outright that Jim is still afraid of him after all these years. Eventually, I want you to pass it. Minutes, seconds. Do you want me to pass out? I really don't want you to crash because I don't want to crash out. Minute and seconds, so it's time to analyze what actually happened and why Jimmy is acting this way. And why his entire basis is being shaken by Maxby touching freedom once more. Minutes, seconds, Cindy M. I was too inebriated to play large in the meme, so I wasn't sure. Minutes, seconds. Minutes, seconds, Max B and Max Big I are some of those musicians who contributed to the development of a full minute and second era of New York rap without ever receiving the recognition they merited. Born and bred in Harlem, his official name is Charlie Wingate. He joined Jim Jones's Bird Gang crew in the early to mid-1900s. Here's the kicker, though. Max was more than just the team's second rapper. Not even near. He had a loose, melodious sing-rap style that was unheard of back then, possessing an avant-garde, wavy vibe. Later, musicians like A$AP Rocky popularized the half-sung, half-floating New York sound. Minutes, seconds, Max was creating that blueprint long before it became popular. Even those who didn't agree with him had to acknowledge that he offered the city something fresh. Minutes, seconds. Well, I won't lie. Maxby was a major inspiration to me throughout my entire rapping career. You can see how I'm creating melodies, even if I don't want to pursue a career in rapping. Yes, he played a significant role in it since before my rapping career I was constantly singing Max B. Max was spilling tapes all over the place. $1 Million Infant, The General Public, Coke Wave with French Montana, Minutes, Seconds Domain series, and all of them become cult favorites. He was the rapper that other rappers covertly studied, even in the absence of a mainstream push. However, things changed just as he was experiencing genuine minutes and seconds of momentum. Max was drawn into a heist scenario that completely altered his course. Here's how the night unfolded in minutes and seconds. On September 2nd, Gina Conway, Max B's ex-girlfriend, told him about Alan J., a man she had very briefly met, plowing, and how he was showing off a lot of cash. Max chose this as his next course of action rather than ignoring it and maintaining his concentration. Minutes, seconds, he instructed Gina to accompany his stepbrother, Kelvin Lowe, in carrying out the robbery. Minutes later, they arrived at Plowton's room at a Fort Lee Holiday Inn, eager to get to the luggage. When Gina knocked, Giselle Neve, another woman, opened the Minutes through the second door. Giselle claimed that Plowton was asleep, but at that moment, Kelvin took out the revolver and threatened Giselle while Gina applied duct tape to her. The entire area quickly became chaotic. They began tearing the room apart and throwing everything in an attempt to find the bag. But for minutes and seconds they were unable to locate anything. They taped Plowton down, woke him up, and began questioning him about the money. He insisted that the minutes and seconds room contained nothing. In order to get the money over, Kelvin made him phone his partner, David Taylor. However, Taylor and Kelvin got into a brawl the moment he entered. Minutes and seconds later, the pistol fired off as chaos broke out. That's where Taylor was shot and killed. Minutes and seconds after the commotion, Kelvin stole Taylor's watch while Gina seized Giselle's purse and the money from his pockets. Minutes, seconds, and their entire futures were sacrificed for this. A few accessories and gas money. Minutes and seconds seem much more terrible as a result. Plowton reported what had transpired to the hotel staff after they had dipped. He was practically struck with his own accusations because he was still moving the money around when the cops stormed the room and caught him in the middle of trying to hide it. When Gina's minutes and seconds were picked up a few days later, she immediately gave detectives all there was to know about Max, Kelvin, the plan, and every single detail. Shortly after, Max and Kelvin were taken into custody, and Max was hit with $1 million bail. Minutes, seconds, let his children go. Donna, where are you? Minutes, seconds. Guys, let's avoid getting too close to the gate. They will converse for minutes, seconds. Gina accepted a plea deal for armed robbery and manslaughter and consented to testify while facing up to years in prison. In May, Max's and Kelvin's trial began. Minutes, seconds, and on June 3rd, they were both found guilty of 9 offenses, including felony murder. Kelvin received a life sentence plus years, while Max was slapped minutes and seconds with a year term. Gina, Max's former girlfriend, received a sentence of years the very following day. Minutes, seconds. Max attempted to file an appeal, but it was denied in August, securing his minute-seconds year bid at the moment. However, when Max B's conviction minutes were overturned due to the revelation that his initial attorney had a significant conflict of interest, the entire issue turned upside down once more. Again, I wouldn't work for those ridiculous minutes and seconds. I am a boss. I disagree with that. There is never any left. I appear to be a boss. I feel in control. I have a bossy taste. Minutes, seconds, Max Biggervale, get out of here, dude. Jim Jones, then. Examine the names. Take a look. Max Biggervale. Jim Jones, minutes and seconds. They don't even add up. It's not wait. Man, that's not on my level. Years after he entered a guilty plea to aggravated manslaughter, his sentence was reduced to minutes, seconds, completely altering his future. After being incarcerated for almost a year, Max's music finally touched freedom in November. His longtime partner, French Montana, was among the friends and relatives that came to see him upon his return. French shared a video of him welcoming Max outside the prison gates with the description, "Can't make these minutes second up. My brother really came home on my B-day. In HL, no more freedom for you." It went viral on the internet. Let's go straight into the messy part now. Jim Jones and Max B's conflict. Minutes, seconds. Minutes, seconds. For example, I'll keep it tall. I'm just being completely honest, that's how I kind of lost out on Max B. Jim ultimately signed them to after seeing the seconds of vision minutes. However, I grew up with Max because Jim had an external perception of him. Charlie Rambo jokes all day long while playing in minutes and seconds. I was like, yo Charles, stop playing. His exact words were killer when he told me he was going to start rapping. Let's get things going like Dorothy's heels, they know. Minutes, seconds. Charlie Rambo was his name, you know, he wasn't Max P. He was released from prison. He approached me verbatim. I asked Charlie, "What's up when you guys say yo Flea?" I simply turned on some music. He responded, "Yo Flea, you know how to rap now. Let's get this planted like Dorothy's heels." Minutes, seconds, laughing. Minutes, seconds. Max wasn't merely following along when he first locked in with Bird Gang and Dipset. He was lifting a lot of weight. Minutes, seconds. He contributed to Trash Verses, wrote hooks, and others claim he was involved in major albums like We Fly High. I'm like, yo, I ain't seeing this. Minutes, seconds. What's going to happen? Minutes, seconds. Be ready to take my head off about this. Minutes, seconds. You ain't a prophet, they want you to be a mother prophet. Yeah, listen, man. And I'm first telling you I missed out and I didn't. I didn't even talk about you because you turned out to be something. And I didn't see the vision because you were too much to my undershirt. But you managed to get me in. Minutes, seconds. Oh no, we did everything and you're like, look, go see, bro. Yeah, but listen, we're Boomerang, we're here now, and we're not even going to get minutes or seconds. No, I'm just saying that's how right even you acknowledge it, like, damn, I got I got this, I got real, you know what I'm saying? Yes. No. Boom. Minutes, seconds. But this is where the drama starts. Minutes, seconds. Max claims he never received fair compensation or adequate credit for any of it. He said that he was essentially being taken advantage of. Max would leave with nearly nothing, and Jim would stack the checks while he worked for minutes and seconds and contributed to the sound. We're talking about shows where Max was paid a few $100s, hardly anything for the labor he was doing, but Jones' minutes and seconds was earning substantial sums of money. Max B is returning home in minutes and seconds. How far along are we with that? Can you overcome that? Minutes, seconds, and now you want us to move on. Now we can go past that. Do you want me to make any changes? Or do you want to move beyond it or add additional to it? Eventually, I want you to pass it. Do you want me to pass out in minutes or seconds? Minutes, seconds. I really don't want you to pass out because I don't want to pass out right now. I want for my brother what I desire for myself. Oh, I see. Thank you. Minutes, seconds. Do you understand what I mean? Because there is an excessive amount of money available. There's too much life out here. Additionally, I enjoy doing the things that I enjoy. Minutes, seconds, nothing feels better than living in the present. You're correct, minutes, seconds. However, money wasn't the only factor in this whole issue. It has to do with respect. Despite carrying a significant portion of the creative burden behind the scenes, Max claimed Jim never treated him like a minuscule second-class citizen. Max eventually left Bird Gang permanently as a result of the contempt that continued to accumulate. Minutes, seconds after departing, he joined up with French Montana, and they began releasing songs that publicly criticized Jim Jones and demonstrated to those who truly developed those seconds, minutes. Nothing was concealed by them. They loudly expressed everything. Jim, however, asserted that he never attempted to tamper with Max B's finances and that he was simply following his own mentor's instructions. However, Jim simply omitted to disclose this. He never returned Max's publishing on his own. Jim was ordered to surrender it by the court when Max sued him for it. That Minutes part has a lot to say. Even Camron commented about this, and he consistently supported Max. Jim, according to Cam, has a tendency to try to micromanage others and claim credit for stuff he didn't really produce. In fact, Cam intended to sign Max before Bergang, but he acknowledged that he didn't see the vision in time before Jim got him. That altered the entire course. Minutes and seconds later, Max and Cam remained composed despite everything. Max also sat down for an interview with Cam and Maze after returning home. The crazy thing is that they made no mention of Jim. During their time in Harlem, they maintained concentration for minutes at a time. Max's time spent indoors and his future musical endeavors. Minutes, seconds, but Jim Jones was unable to maintain his composure even after Max returned home to show him love and support. Rather from embracing the occasion or demonstrating personal development, he spent minutes on the internet criticizing others, labeling the celebration useless, and attempting to make fun of Max as though he wasn't a significant contributor to Dipset's history. Without him even realizing it, that response communicated the entire tale of the minutes. Because let's face it, Max's freedom brings back all the old. Jim never wanted to have these conversations in public. What was actually written by whom? The sound was carried by whom? Who created the wave? The moment Max enters the light once more, all of it immediately comes back to life. Jim is aware of it as well. His energy has been erratic since day one because of this. Minutes, seconds. Meanwhile, when Max sat with Cam and Mace, he didn't even mention Jim. He didn't toss dirt. He avoided being messy. Minutes, seconds, he just talked about his life, his development, and his current priorities. Jim can't stop reacting to minutes, seconds, and Max isn't thinking about the past, so that quiet hit much more than any CD could have. The difference was immediately apparent to fans. As soon as people began sharing old interviews, credits, dramas, and minutes, everyone on the internet saw how much Max actually contributed to the sound Jim used to establish his reputation. A free Max ensures that those talks won't end this time, which is where the minutes, seconds unease really comes into play. Jim appears to be caught in a never-ending cycle, yet Max is progressing, leveling up, and living life once more in a matter of minutes and seconds. After a few minutes, Camron said the line that caused the entire internet to go crazy. After all these years, he said, Jim is still afraid of Max B. He didn't use jokes about minutes and seconds. He was direct in his statement. And as soon as he did, clips began to appear everywhere. Fans were unearthing past instances in which Jim sidestepped queries, ducked minutes, or dismissed Max's name as if it upset him far more than he acknowledged. Cam didn't even need to explain minutes or seconds. The past speaks for itself. Jim wasn't prepared for someone from his own camp to shine so brightly when Max began to receive significant notice. And since Max is no longer the same person he was when he entered, that same pressure immediately returns now that he is free. Every time he speaks, it's evident that he's calmer, smarter, and much more focused. People are able to see through Jim's attempts to dismiss the entire thing as if he's above it. His tone, timing, and sleek shots all give the impression that someone is attempting to protect in a position that he no longer feels confident in. Max's return brings the truth back into the public eye. Who actually made what in minutes and seconds? Who was being held back and who deserved credit? And it impacts differently when someone like Camron, who was present, claims that Jim has been anxious about minutes, seconds, and Max's name for years. Max doesn't even try to create drama, but every time he walks in, the room trembles just by his presence. Jim is obviously still carrying a huge load, even though Max isn't even thinking about him at the moment. Minutes, seconds. Jim just responded, no. When Mayo asked him in a recent interview if he could finally let the past be the past, he didn't go into greater detail, but you could tell it struck a chord right away. Now, there are comments that say things like, Jim minutes, seconds still has PTSD about Max running around World Star back in the day. disparaging him and even bringing up minutes seconds hotel issue once more. He is loudly informed by the internet, which never forgets. Some, however, took a completely opposite stance, writing, Jim is saying minutes seconds this because Max B is not in front of him. If they saw each other, there is no way that they could not heal and move forward as brothers. Jim's response, minutes seconds way. I think they can move forward sparked debate all night. The love is still minutes seconds there. Jim is hurt. Jim feels hurt by Cam too. Jim has to realize he hurt Max B too. What do you think of it then? Is it really possible for them to get over everything? Or is there simply too much history in minutes and seconds for things to ever return to how they were before Max was imprisoned? Most fans are unaware of the depth of this scenario, which is minutes and seconds deep. Before you get in, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment, minutes or seconds. Like this video, and share it if you think the content is amazing. Click the Hype This Video button if you truly liked it. It's free and significantly boosts the channel's growth. I'm grateful.